No. The one in the back, I know, but I'm not sure what these three. Ready? All right, I would like to call to order the Monday, April 4th meeting of the City of Menona City Council. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Thomas. Here. Alder Goforth.
Here.
Alder Kirby. Here. Alder Moore.
Here.
Alder Wood.
Here.
Alder Kerr. Here. Mayor O'Connor.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the March 21st meeting?
Move approval.
I'll second.
Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. We have one appearance this evening. Sarah Alvarado is here to discuss Building Black Wealth, which is a program you're doing in conjunction with One City Schools. Is that right? Okay. If you'd like to come up to the podium.
Oh, Mike, there I am.
I think they moved another mic up there.
Okay. I'm reading this so that I can make sure to get my 3 minutes. Otherwise, I would talk for like 20 minutes. So, my name is Sarah Alvarado, co-founder of Own It, Building Black Wealth, and co-owner of the Alvarado Real Estate Group, and a community advocate for racial justice. I grew up in a real estate family in Madison and have worked in real estate since 1995. Today, I'll be talking to you about Own It, Building Black Wealth. This two-part initiative is designed to address and work towards eliminating substantial barriers to wealth and homeownership for Black and brown families in Greater Madison area. The program does so by providing two key elements: an education program and access to $15,000 for down payment funds with fewer restrictions. This pilot program is offered for families, alumni, and staff for free at One City Schools. We plan to continue this model with additional partner groups in the future. Housing and discrimination are not abstract problems. They are real injustices that our whole community, especially our Black and brown neighbors, continue to face. The wealth gap is increasing, and homeownership rates for Black and brown families have actually decreased in the past 40 years. What will we say in 10 years after thousands of pieces of property have changed hands, and yet homeownership rates for Black families are still depressed? The real estate market, operating on its own, is not fixing the problem. We, the community, are simply not doing enough to make a considerable impact. There is a general lack of recognition by the public about existing disparities and the history of housing and lending injustices in the Madison area. Practices in the housing market that continue to shut out Black and brown families, and a lack of government intervention directly addressing these issues. I'm not used to reading, so bear with me. Thank you.
And you can take a little longer than 3 minutes since your planned appearance. That's okay.
Oh, well.
So you can slow down a bit.
I'll slow my roll.
So you can breathe. Yeah.
So one of the reasons that this is important and why we're calling it Own It, Building Black Wealth, is because it's a problem we all must own, especially the real estate and financial industries. It's also important for the community at large to understand the continuing issues, practices, and policies that make this problem persist. As a real estate broker, I can see firsthand how the Fair Housing Act, passed in 1968, which was great for many reasons, is actually creating a barrier for us as a nation to invest in Black and brown homeownership directly. Due to this non-discriminatory law, we miss an opportunity for race-based funding. Race-based funding for housing is critical if we want to decrease the wealth gap for Black families. But until we are able to see that change at a federal level, we have discovered that we can partner with schools or organizations like One City Schools that serve a high percentage of people of color. Here's how the program works and why it's an improvement over other down payment assistance efforts. There's the education and there's the money. So right now in our pilot phase, we offer the education program to all families at One City Schools, so we're in compliance with the law. But because One City Schools serves 85% of families of color, we are absolutely targeting and unapologetic about wanting to serve Black and brown families. The free education course is designed to improve financial literacy and understanding about homeownership. It's not just about getting people into homes, it's about understanding how the system works and why it's designed the way it is. So there's a racial justice framework to the education, because we've also seen how getting into homes can be detrimental to families if they don't understand how the system works. Upon completion of the course, participants can apply for the $15,000 down payment grant. The Own It funds require that the applicant be a first-time home buyer and use the funds for owner-occupied, single-family, condo, or a duplex, 2-unit. And it must be a first-time home buyer having not owned in the past 3 years. There's no repayment and there's no other restrictions involved. Typically, there's a lot of restrictions with down payment assistance programs that make it a barrier, so that when you're presenting offers to a seller, if there's a down payment assistance contingency, it's automatically at the bottom. So when you're seeing sellers look at multiple offers, anyone that has either fewer dollars on the offer or a down payment assistance program, they're not getting the houses anyway. So this eliminates that. So in the past 18 months, we've raised more than $360,000, which will serve 23 families. We've offered 2 courses. 36 families completed the first wealth building course in the fall. 14 completed the homeownership course in January. And the exciting news is that 7 families applied and were approved for the $15,000 down payment grant at the end of February, and 3 are already in accepted offers. The next course starts this week with 42 people enrolled. So we see it working, it's looking like it's working, and we're getting a lot of community support. We encourage financial contributions, which is fiscally sponsored by Forward Community Investments, which is a 501c3. Ultimately, though, real change comes through systematic funding mechanisms that ties into every real estate sales transaction. So we're currently working with real estate professionals across the board from all the brokerages to develop a fund-producing model where a portion or a percentage of earnings from every real estate sale goes directly to the fund. Home sellers are also donating their proceeds that they choose to the fund. This is what reparations and reconciliation looks like, and it's what Own It is trying to establish here in Madison. I'm here tonight so you can be a part of this movement and the change that is so badly needed. Building awareness is critical for the momentum of the initiative. It's helpful for you all to know what's going on so that you can see that there are people in the community. The banks are on board. Some of the banks are on board. So if you have connections or you know people who care that are tied to the different aspects of this movement, you can let us know. You can stay connected, and you can watch, hopefully, Black home ownership rates increase. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Alder Coor has brought a proposal to our Community Development Authority. Right, if you want to explain a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if your group is familiar with our Renew Menona program. In Menona, we've got a down payment assistance program. It's a match of $20,000, and there's not income requirements. It has to do with the assessment of the property value is how we scale who's eligible or not. But I'm looking at trying to get us to focus on first-generation home buyers as opposed to first-time home buyers. We would keep the first-time home buyer component, but then also offer a first-generation home buyer incentive that would be slightly more than the first-time home buyer, because we go with the same, for 3 years, they're a first-time home buyer program. And so because it's for Menona properties, I think that would be a great partnership with One City, because you're just down the road, I think.
Yeah, we can stack them too, like
Yep.
Oklahoma City and Madison. And first generation is something that the nationwide is looking at. And again, just to clarify, it's because they can't have race-based funding. So they're trying to find different ways instead of just addressing it. And I'm glad that Menona's doing that. We can definitely stack it. They call it stacking the programs. We can totally do that.
Yep.
So, thank you.
Thanks.
Has
Thank
it
you.
passed already? Or
It has not passed yet. I'm hoping the next meeting it will.
Okay. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
Mayor?
Mayor? Oh, sorry.
Yeah?
I just wanted to thank Sarah for coming. I invited her because I felt it was really important that this body know about this program. And I just wanted to mention, too, that the DEI committee is working on the same exact initiative with the first-generation home buying program as far as Renew Menona and a recommendation that's going to come forward through that committee. So,
Okay.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor? Sorry, well, I was just going to ask if you could actually send all of the alders a link or something to the program or your contact info, because I would certainly like to get the information out.
She'll send it to me.
Send it to me and I'll send it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. There is no public hearing, there is no consent agenda. Moving on to council action items. Under unfinished business, item 1A, consideration of resolution 22-3-2546, acceptance of 2022 Parks and Recreation Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan put forth by the Parks and Recreation Board. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Jake?
Good evening. I don't have any updates from last time. If there's any questions, I would be gladly to answer those.
Mayor, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I know these three folks in the front here wanted to also make public appearances. I don't know that they registered necessarily, but.
I don't think they have.
Okay.
I guess, should we go back? Go back. There's some sheets of paper on the table there, if you could register.
Sure.
Do you want to, Jake, let's finish with Jake and then we'll
Come back.
step back to public hearings. I'm sorry, we haven't been meeting in person in months and months, so we're out of practice. Normally, we ask whoever comes in the door if they want to make an appearance.
This is entirely new to myself.
Okay.
I'm just here to learn.
Okay. Jake, did anybody have any questions, or Doug, did you have something?
Yeah, it's just actually Alder Thomas pointed the wording out to me. It's on page 13 in the packet, goal number 1. It says the goal is to provide the natural, cultural, and scenic resources of the city for the enjoyment of present residents and future generations. And she had suggested some other word or wording besides residents would be more, broadly welcoming. So my thought would be to amend it by just taking out the word residents and just say for the enjoyment of present and future generations. Period. So
I like that.
Yeah.
that would be an amendment, friendly or whatever. I don't know.
Do we need a motion for that? Does anybody want to second that?
I'll second.
Any discussion, any further discussion? Alder Thomas?
Jake, the reason it occurred to me is that I know we're very welcoming to people who stay in hotels, and we want to talk about beds and heads, and bikers who go through, and that the parks, we're very proud of showcasing our parks to the broader community, and it seems more welcoming to say that we do it for all.
Sure.
That's, it sort of popped, I used to get attacked because I was too Menona, because I'd say, and so I'm very conscious of that we welcome all in our businesses, the people who attend our restaurants and who go down. I mean, my doctor's, my physician's assistant brings her kids from Marshall to go skating down at the park. So that's why it occurred to me, and I just know that you guys are all inclusive, whether it's the swim team or the sailing club or.
Okay. Anyone else have any other comments? Alder, go for it.
Yeah, I wasn't going to point it out, but since you're going to be making a change, on Goal 5, it says promote bicycle and pedestrian facilities throughout the city. Bicycle spelled wrong. Just in case you're making a few edits there.
Is that another amendment, or you got that?
Just
Okay.
pointing it out.
Okay. All right, any other comments about the amendment? Okay, all in favor of Doug's amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, any other comments about the comprehensive plan?
Sorry,
Oh,
I
they go
know
for it.
that the Parks Board submitted different recommendations for edits, and maybe those have not yet been integrated. So we had many sets of eyes on this as well to try to comb through for misspellings and things like that. So
And I
it's not
actually
here on the-
submitted a few too.
Yeah,
so.
so
Yeah, we can get those cleaned up before it's published officially.
That would be good, I think. Anything else? Alderman Morgan?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I know it's not a small task to put this together, and I found the survey really interesting overall, as always. I thought the response rate was really good, and I know the work that goes into that, so I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Alderman.
Anyone else? Okay, all in favor of approving the plan as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. If you'd like to hand your sheets, you can just give them to me, and then I'll just call you up one at a time to come up to the podium and speak. Jake Rivard. And we generally keep these to about 3 minutes.
Oh, no problem.
Good evening. My name is Jake Rivard, relatively new resident in Menona, so thank you for allowing me to come in. I've been at my property at 600 Bartell Street for about 2 years, and our property is on the Yahara Channel that surrounds Pirate Island. I'd like to just bring awareness today, just mostly of the condition of the channel in relation to the recent storm drain project that was completed as of last June or last summer of 2021 on our within our channel, on my property actually specifically. With the uncontrolled factors such as the Wisconsin drought and precipitation and things like that, along with some of the efforts that I know have been going on within Dane County to reduce some of the water levels and reduce the flooding concerns, the amount of sediment buildup in our channel has gotten to the point that it's so that most of it's now above water. What used to be a 45-foot wide, 50-foot wide channel is now only several feet wide and a few inches deep in most spots. You cannot navigate through there anymore with a kayak, a boat. Last summer we had a lot of fish turn up dead, belly up, and a lot of waste, liquor bottles, trash that just is now brought to the surface because of the lowered water levels. Actually, I do have some images here printed off for you. If anyone is interested, I can pass them out if that is appropriate.
Thank you.
And they're the same images.
I saw your email.
Okay. So what you'll see in the images is actually between my property at 600 and then at between Alyssa's property at 601 Falcon Circle. We just feel that there is a few risks and concerns here from an environmental aspect with the fish population and other aquatic population, not to mention the safety issues and risks and concerns that we have as residents. But then the obvious one that we're not able to navigate this waterway at all whatsoever anymore, or really utilize it as waterfront property. I guess I'll leave it at that. And again, I just wanted to first and foremost put a face to names and introduce myself and start getting involved within the city. And I'm excited to post-COVID Menona get involved. So thank you.
Thank you. Alyssa Stiles?
Good evening. My name is Alyssa Stiles. As Jake mentioned, I'm one of his neighbors. I reside at 601 Falcon Circle. I'm also a newer resident to Menona, so I'm glad to be here. And similar to what Jake had mentioned in the pictures you see here, our biggest concern is that obviously we are having much more trash buildup. I know I have a couple liquor bottles in my backyard. In addition to the silt and dirt buildup Jake talks about, it is not even solid. I took a PVC pipe that was over 5 feet tall, and with just my hand, I can push it into the water. It's not sturdy at all, so if a child or animal or even myself, I did try a little bit just to put in my foot, I would just sink right into the dirt. And last year we did, as Jake mentioned, he used to be able to kayak. We also would have some people in the community going and kayaking along the back of that canal. But now, with the pictures you can see, it's very little water whatsoever, that if anyone even tried to use a non-motorized boat, it would likely get stuck. So this is definitely a concern for us residents, as well as I think for the community as we look into the summer and trying to get everyone out and about, especially after COVID and doing outdoor activities. So it would be great if we could move forward in trying to get this fixed for the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Kevin Spurberg?
Yep. Kevin Spurberg, 602 Barnhill Street. We all three of us live, we're all fairly new in the neighborhood. And like last year, I had my boat in the water, and last fall, when I went to take it out, there was probably about a foot of water. I literally had to get out of the boat to push it. And I sunk up past my knees into muck. And it's got a really stenchy smell to it. And it's just, I don't know, getting worse. It seems like if nothing's done, that whole corner is just going to fill up, and it's going to be totally useless, basically. I don't know. To me, it seems like the city didn't finish their job. They put the culvert in, and that was the end of it. Now the rest is like up to us. We have to put up with it. They did put a couple drop something to catch the dirt and the muck, but still, when it rains hard, it's everything's just brown going in there. It's getting pretty bad. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And because this is not on the agenda, we can't discuss it. You understand that, so, okay. Okay, moving back to unfinished business, consideration of resolution 22-3-2547, approval of facility use agreement with the Lake Menona Sailing Club, put forth by the Parks and Recreation Board. Is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
I'll second.
Jake?
No further comment from me or anything new from last time, but we are looking forward to getting the pier in, probably in the next couple weeks, I think, from the club perspective, and see how it functions in the newly updated Stonebridge Park.
Anyone have any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I just have one question, and it might actually relate to the appearances, but I know that the residents along that shore, many of the residents along that shore, said last summer that they had literally no water.
Are you talking about the appearances?
No, I'm talking about along the shore where Stonebridge is and where the Sailing Club is.
Mm-hmm.
That whole shore from like Stonebridge down to at least Shaluter. A lot of the residents there said they had no water all last summer. So they couldn't put their boats in them, and their boats were stuck with zero water underneath them.
Water wasn't deep enough.
The water wasn't deep enough. There wasn't any water. It wasn't that it wasn't deep enough. There wasn't any water. The shoreline was way back. And my understanding is that they were trying to keep Lake Menona levels lower because of the dredging that they were finishing up.
That was my
understanding. I just didn't know if that's what your understanding was too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and that may be somewhat of the new norm on Winona, to keep it artificially low, lower than what we have been used to in the past. I think at the last I heard we were 16 inches below where we typically would be at this time of year, historically.
Is that all related to the county and controlling the water level, or is it probably because of
huge lack of precipitation?
Lack of precipitation also.
18 months.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that what I heard in terms of it being lower was in part due to the dredging they were finishing up in Mud Lake. So thank you.
Anyone else? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item C, consideration of resolution 22-3-2548, approval of facility use agreement with Papa's Barbecue, also put forth by the Parks and Recreation Board. Is there a motion to approve?
Nothing new from the first read on this one. I believe we'll be starting to talk to Gilbert in May, early May.
Is there a motion to approve this?
So move.
Second.
Okay.
I'll give it to Alderman.
Okay, anything else? Okay. Any questions for Jake? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. And a second
Opposed?
barbecue, of course.
Motion passes. Item D, consideration of resolution.
Sorry, I just want to make a comment. We had talked about this before. I wasn't at the last meeting where this was I don't know if this is you just said first read, correct?
No, this is second.
Second. But Papa's is a Black-owned business. They, despite being a barbecue cart, they offer vegan and vegetarian options. Great organization. I'm proud of this and excited about this partnership. So thank you, Jake, for bringing it to the table.
Next item, D, consideration of Resolution 22-3-2549, approval of facility use agreement with Menona Swim and Dive. Is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Second.
Jake?
Nothing further other than this is a 1 year and strictly basically because we changed the rate per swimmer, and I believe that you put in the packet you have the fees that Menona Swim and Dive has paid over the past 5 years, and just a great partnership that we have. So looking forward to another awesome swim season.
Questions, anyone?
Me again, just a comment. The new director is a former swimmer student. A family.
Rob, that was at the meeting.
Yeah.
Rob Bluthine. Yeah. So Rob's a Menona resident, swim and dive board president, and
It was a great presentation. Really good enthusiasm from the board about this as well, the Parks Board. So excited to continue that partnership.
Anyone else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Jake. Next, item 1E, consideration of Resolution 22-3-2552, acceptance of City Administrator Gatto's letter of resignation put forth by the Personnel and Finance Committee, and I haven't heard that the City Administrator wants to rescind this, so.
If we don't make a motion, does it just go away?
I've asked that question many times in the last couple of weeks. Yeah. No, unfortunately not.
Crushes dreams.
Sorry.
Crushes dreams.
Is there a motion to accept this?
Nobody wants to make it.
I'll move. Alder Groupie moves.
I'll second.
All right,
We like
any
to-
further discussion?
Knock 'em dead.
Yeah,
Middleton is lucky, fortunate.
they are.
Yeah.
You will be missed.
Yeah, you will.
All right, well, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, unfortunately. All right, we are moving on to new business. Item 2A, consideration of Resolution 22-4-2553, providing for the sale of $6 million in general obligation promissory notes, Series 2022B, put forth by the Finance Director. And as usual, we always do this in a two-stage. This is good to give Jeff, our bond advisor, permission to start the process. So, and he'll be here at the next meeting. Right?
Yeah, so if you could take it out and approve it tonight.
That's what I was going to ask.
You want to approve,
Yeah,
want to approve this tonight?
start.
Okay, I'm sorry.
All
right.
I'll move to suspend the rules to take this out of order.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
Yes, thanks. So this is a $6 million GO note. So the breakdown is $3,140,000 is for the 2022 general capital projects. Sewer, we're only borrowing $200,000 because we have unspent proceeds from the years before. So we have to borrow the full amount. In water and stormwater, we had some large savings last year. So we actually, and there were about $200,000 each. So we do not need to borrow for those. So we're only borrowing for sewer $200,000 in general, and then the TIF, which is part of the Winnico Road and some with the Broadway part. So $660,000 there. So that equals $4 million. And then we have to add in another $2 million with this situation. So last year we bought St. Damiano for $8.5 million. We had set the first payment to use the money from Dane County, the grant for $2 million. We have not received that yet. I think eventually we'll come here to council, but that payment is due May 1st. So in order to do that, we'll have to borrow $2 million to make that payment. And then if we do accept that $2 million, we'll use that money when we refinance the ban that's coming up that's coming due for the band for that. So we'll take that money if we get it and then reuse that money and repay it off right away. So that gets to that $6 million.
So this is pretty much strictly a timing issue. It's because there's no question that we're getting the money from Dane County, but we're still negotiating this easement, and we hope to bring it to the council in May at this point. So, does anyone have any other questions about this? Alder, go for it.
I know you said the sale price was 8.5 million, but I think it was 8.6 because we put 100,000 in earnest money. Is that
Yeah,
right?
but the band we already borrowed was 8.5.
Got it. Okay. And then we probably don't have a clue on what our interest rates are going to look like yet because this is just starting, or do you know what that's, do you have an inkling on that?
I don't, but they're going to be around 2%.
Oh, good, okay.
That's what Jeff will be finding out in the next 2 weeks, right?
I can get those. I got projections, I don't have them with me, but they're right around 2%.
Any other questions? Okay, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Core?
Aye.
Alder Thomas?
Aye.
Alder Goforth?
Aye.
Alder Groupie?
Aye.
Alder Moore?
Aye.
Alder Wood?
Aye.
Motion passes. I assume we want the next item
Yes.
to be
Yeah.
start for immediate approval as well? Okay. Item 2B, consideration of Resolution 22-4-2554, resolution providing for the sale of $3.4 million in taxable general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2022C, put forth by the Finance Director. Is there a motion to take this out of order?
So move.
Oh, I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion to approve?
So this is related to TIF 9.
Oh, we still need another motion. Sorry.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay, all right, Mark.
This is related to TIF 9. This is the last of the TIF bans that we took out back in 2018 and 19. We refinanced just recently a couple of them into TIF increment revenue bonds. Because of the requirements, we couldn't get this last one in as one of those TIF increment revenue bonds. So we're just refinancing that into a long-term debt, GEO. So this is just going from the ban, which is due, I think the payment's due, comes due this year, so now is the time to refinance it.
Any questions? Okay, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Wood?
Aye.
Alder Core?
Aye.
Alder Thomas?
Aye.
Alder Goforth?
Aye.
Alder Groupie?
Aye.
Alder Moore?
Aye.
Thank you, Mark. Next, item 2C, consideration of Resolution 22-4-2551, award of contract for the 2022 South Winnico Road project put forth by the Public Works Director. Dan.
Thank you, Mayor. This appears on the agenda tonight for the first reading. We have a plan to come back on April 18th at City Council for the second reading. We'll be at the April 6th Public Works Committee meeting this week, Wednesday, seeking their recommended approval. And then also we were at Finance tonight and received their recommended approval. We received 3 bids on March 25th for this project. Wolf Paving and Excavating provided the low bid. The base bid was $891,701. We also included bid alternate number 1 in there. That's the city's mill and overlay program. We received a bid of $86,875.20 for bid alternate 1. In your packet, you have the resolution for this project. I also included the fiscal note that goes along with the project. For the mill and overlay program, we're going to be doing Winnico Trail and the southern portion of Tony Awatha Trail from Winnico Trail to Baskerville. And those project dollars will be allocated to the street maintenance and repair account. The remaining money will be allocated to the South Winnico Road project account in the capital budget. And if you look at the impact of adopting the proposal, we itemized the project cost for this project. The construction bid amount was $891,701. We have $103,000 reserved for observation of the project, just under $150,000 for the 15% contingency. We had $57,000 for final design, and we're reserving about $20,000 for the archaeological review and testing services. That brings our project total to $1,220,906. About $158,000 remains in balance. I'd like to request that money stay there
because we still have negotiations to do for the TLE and the landscaping costs for the 3 to 4 properties. And also if we run into something during the sidewalk excavation where we have some project overruns, if we find Indian remains and things like that. So we also have included in your packet the bid tab that we received. Again, Wolf Paving was the low bidder. And that's it for now. Is there any questions for the project?
Anyone? Alder, go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I know Wolf is a well-respected company, so great to see that come in so low. And I know, have you worked with Wolf before?
Yeah, Wolf has done, in my 11 years here, they've probably been in probably 6 or 7 times.
Great.
Yeah, so they're a good contractor for us. Hamburg was the second low bid. I think it was like 9,000 in second place for that.
Also low.
So, yeah, we really good bids this year. For
Yeah,
this,
it's
this
nice to
project.
see that. That was a nice surprise because
Yeah.
nothing's coming in low right now.
Yeah.
And then I didn't see the landscaping. You mentioned the landscaping, but I didn't see that in this.
The TLE, only because we don't know what those costs are yet.
Okay.
But if you look on the fiscal note, they will apply either towards the contingency or the construction cost, depending on where they come in at.
Okay.
So as we get those in, I'll work with the administrator and the finance director. But we really shouldn't touch that 158,000 unless we run into an issue during excavation.
Okay.
So and hopefully then that 15% contingency will still cover that. Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Aldermore.
Yeah, I just want to say, Dan, thank you, because in truth, Public Works always seems to come in under budget. I don't know how you do it, but you guys have a remarkable record in terms of really, dotting your I's and crossing your T's and delivering for the dollar. So I really appreciate that.
June and July is very busy. We work with our 3 engineers to fine tune these prices as best we can. So that's. And they base it based off recent bidding numbers. So we try to come in as close as we can. So
That was a very nice surprise. That's for sure. Anyone else?
okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Next item, consideration of ordinance 4-22-750, amending Chapter 216 of the Menona Code of Ordinances regarding erosion and stormwater runoff control put forth by the Public Works Committee. Brad Brune has come back to us for a little while to discuss this, and congratulations, Brad, on the birth of your new son. So,
thank you.
if you'd like to.
Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, do we get to see him?
Bring out that baby.
Yeah.
Get that baby out here.
Hold on 1 second.
We want proof.
Baby show and tell. Yeah,
We need to know you're not cheating on the family leave plan.
I'll stay on after I present and hold them up to the camera.
Oh, that'd be
Just
so cool.
Everybody. So this is Ordinance 216's revisions come as Dane County has revised their ordinance, and we are required to meet or be as stringent as the Dane County ordinance. And so that is the reason for these updates, along with the DNR audited the city of Menona in 2021 for our MS4, our stormwater program. And one area we did not cover was illicit discharge management or illicit discharge controls in our ordinance, and therefore we also updated that to match the county's.
Could you hold on just a minute, Brad? We're trying to get the sound up a little bit.
Okay.
Could you try it again?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
That's better. Maybe sorry to ask you, but could you start over?
Yeah, sorry. So the ordinance change is an update that's required to Dane County's update. Dane County updated their ordinance, and we are required to be as strict, if not stricter, than the county. So we updated ours to match, in most cases, and Darren Pope is on the call as well. He helped in consulting on these updates, did most of the revisions that you see in the agenda packet, and he can go over a couple of the areas that are either highlights or important in terms of changes between what was our old ordinance and now what the new one is.
Okay, Darren, were you going to address that?
Yeah.
Thank
Can
you.
everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Good, great. All right, thanks, Brad. So as Brad mentioned, so the cities and villages within Dane County have to adopt stormwater erosion control ordinance that's at least as restrictive as Dane County's. So each time that Dane County's ordinance is amended, the city has to do so as well. And some of the more significant changes that Dane County made to their ordinance was for new development sites. Menona doesn't have a lot of new development sites. Most of what happens in Menona is redevelopment because you're a landlocked community. But for new development sites, Dane County's ordinance was revised to require that the stormwater rate is maintained for the pre-development level for the 200-year runoff event instead of the 100-year was the previous standard. And the county was just reacting to our more frequent larger storms that we've have been experiencing over the last few years. And so to try to be proactive and reduce the flooding that is happening with those storms, they raised the standard from 100-year storm events to 200-year storm events. They also added some language to define green infrastructure, which includes some practices such as rain gardens, fire retention systems, infiltration basins, vegetated swales, porous pavement, those measures that help to infiltrate the water rather than having it directed to impervious areas where it runs off. And then they did add a requirement that for redevelopment, where the proposed impervious surface area is greater than 80%, that then the runoff from that the first half inch of runoff from that needs to be treated using or directed to impervious surfaces using the green infrastructure. And then also, as Brad had mentioned, Menona Dane County did adopt an illicit discharge chapter in their ordinance. So now the city is going to decide to adapt that as well due to the DNR's prompting to do that. And that has been included in the stormwater ordinance. And the title of the ordinance has been changed to reflect that as well. It includes an illicit discharge in the title of the ordinance. And the illicit discharge will be cited to Dane County's ordinance. So in the ordinance updates, decided to keep it simple and just directly cite that and adopt by citation that the city's ordinance adopts what Dane County has. And so that's the major differences or the major updates that have been done in the county's ordinance. So then the updated draft that is being presented includes all of those updates as well.
Yeah, and then the only other thing that was another part of the agenda packet was the fees and fines schedule has been adapted or revised to reflect the permit application fees. We changed those fees to better cover our costs. We had not been covering our costs historically with the version of our permit application fees. That's pretty much it.
Okay, any questions? Anyone? Alder, go for it.
I was kind of surprised that there weren't more stringent controls mentioned for lakefront properties. Did I miss that, or it's kind of a one size fits all?
Yeah, I can address that. So lakefront properties are for the most part, single-family residential, and the Uniform Dwelling Code for the state covers single-family residential properties. Our erosion control permit is exempted. Those properties are exempt from Chapter 216. So they'd be covered by the building inspector in the zoning department, or the zoning code, I should say.
Okay.
The library will close in 15 minutes. Please bring your items to the self-check machine. Thank you.
Anyone have any other questions?
I had one other, just trying to find it. I thought it was on page 188. It says about permit duration. I was kind of surprised to see it. At one point it says, oh yeah, the permit duration has been extended from 12 months to 24 months. And then there was another one that was is at 3 years. And I was kind of surprised because that's a very long time to keep a permit open. Like if someone were doing construction, or that's just what Dane County's doing, and so that's where we're going with.
No, I believe that, and Darren, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure we extended it to 2 years, and that was mostly due to the size of some of these redevelopment projects that have spanned over a year and a half in some cases, and the process of having to have them reapply for a new permit seems unnecessary, seeing as nothing changed on the property, because they'd have to go through the zoning review and get all that approved for any other kind of changes. So that was the only reason that we kept it as a 2-year permit application term.
Okay, so kind of more focused toward commercial developments than residential.
And that's correct, and that's what Chapter 216 really covers is your bigger properties, commercial, industrial, institutional. Single and two-family are covered by the Uniform Dwelling Code by the state, the DSPS, not by the DNR. So.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on.
See the baby?
Pardon?
Do the baby now.
Oh, right, is the baby coming, or?
No, hold on one second.
Baby's not coming. The baby doesn't want to. The baby's sleeping.
Yeah.
Don't wake
Hopefully he's not waking him up.
Oh, Dan, you're leaving? You're going to miss the baby?
Oh,
there he is.
Oh, so tiny. What's his name? I didn't hear.
What's his name?
It's, Oscar.
Oscar.
Sweetness. Love it.
Oh.
He's sporting his Bucky Badger outfit.
Good idea.
Nice.
Aw.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations, Fred. And hopefully he isn't woken up now.
Yeah.
Looks like he's starting to stretch.
Worth it.
Have him listen to a little more of this meeting and he'll go back to sleep.
That's right.
He'll go back to sleep as soon as he gets back in his mock room. He loves that thing.
Well, thank you for
Thank you.
coming
Thank
to
you.
the meeting tonight, and thank you, Darren, for joining us as well.
Yeah, thank you, Darren.
All right, we will move on to our next item, which is consideration of Ordinance 4-22-751, amending Chapter 335-8 of the Code of Ordinances regarding noise disturbing the peace, put forth by Alder Goforth and myself, and I did tell the city administrator he could put my name down here just for purposes of discussion. So, Christy, I guess, do you want to?
Sure. Yeah, thank you for putting this in. Yeah, I think I wasn't at was it public safety that discussed these, the noise, I think? Yeah, so I wasn't at that meeting, so I didn't hear the discussion that occurred around the construction noise going till 9 p.m. I know pretty much all the neighboring municipalities have construction noise ending at 7 p.m. Verona is 8 p.m. Some allow it to go later on weekends. And I think with 4 large apartment developments on the table here at Plan Commission, and some of those being very proximate to residents, I just felt 9 p.m. was really late for construction noise. I know my neighbors, they have young children, and they're all in bed by 7 p.m. I know, lack of sleep inhibits learning, increases stress. I think I did try to find Middleton's noise ordinance, and you got some work to do.
I don't know
there.
yet, so.
Because they don't have the E-code or the Muni code. Their code is all in PDF. So
They have E-code.
they do. I couldn't find it, so website work there to do. But yeah, I just thought this would be worthy of a discussion, and I would love you to inform me on the committee discussions that occurred around this.
Alder Thomas.
Just a couple of comments. Unfortunately, it doesn't just affect construction of apartment buildings, but if I'm a working man, woman, person, and I'm working, I have dinner, and I want to go out and fix my screen door at 7:30, I can't do it.
Well,
this prohibits any. Now, I can run my lawnmower and make all kinds of noise with my lawnmower. I can listen to the 4th of July festival. I can listen to the senior concerts, but I can't repair my house. We allow other noises to go until 9. And so I'm concerned about this. And for some things, this also affects, for example, when we are doing road construction, if you have bad weather, they have a timeline. And most employers don't want to be paying anyone till 9 o'clock, let alone 7 o'clock, except that if they have a deadline and they have a penalty as in road construction. So we are either going to impact if there's bad weather or a reason for them to do it. And they don't do it unless it's necessary. And I think they have to get a permit. So I'm not sure how we square allowing lawnmowers, loud music, but you can't repair your house. You can't repair your outbuilding. You can't build something in the yard.
Alder Moore.
Yeah, so isn't there, to Kathy's point, isn't there wouldn't the contract with any contractor, let's just say the contract we just approved or just looked at for South Winnico, wouldn't that contract supersede and that contract would spell out what the normal construction hours are?
For municipal-based projects, yes, we would bake into that contract whatever is in our ordinance for start times, with the understanding that there are some occasions where a special exception can be granted because of weather or some other circumstances that require them to work past whatever the time deadline or working on Sunday. We have had to do that with past municipal projects. We don't have that same authority for private sector construction.
Even if it's something that, like, for instance, the developments, like, for instance, the riverfront or the new developments that Chrissy's talking about, wouldn't we have control over that?
Yeah, in that sense, yes. I mean, we could grant a special exception through the administrator and the building inspector for a large-scale project. For example, if they wanted, one night they've got a special crew coming in to pile drive and it's the only day that they'll be on site. Yes, we could grant an exception for that day to go beyond 9 p.m. or 7 p.m., whatever the ordinance may be written. It would be a little bit more difficult to deal with that on a case-by-case basis for, like, single-family construction, but larger commercial construction, yeah, we can do that.
I mean, my point is that we generally would not expect them to go to 9 p.m. if it was commercial construction, to Kathy's point. It would typically, and that the contract, whoever the developer is, who we've approved, that the contract would generally not stipify that the contractor can go, pile driving until 9 p.m. I mean, I can't remember any development where we've been pile driving until 9 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's rare.
Right.
The way that our ordinance is written is 9 p.m. today.
Right.
I think it is rare where you've had a commercial project that's gone up to that on a regular basis.
Right.
And so if we've got a development project that's getting approved, however our ordinance reads, we would make sure that they see that language so they can inform their subcontractors what our code is
And if there are cases where they need to request a special exception, we can deal with that on a case-by-case basis.
Alder Thomas?
My point is that when we put in these restrictions, sometimes they have unintended consequences on people that we didn't mean to limit. We learned that over the years when this, and so that's my point. I mean, for the ordinary homeowner, anyone, it's everybody.
Anyone else? Alder Goforth and then Alder.
I was going to say, just to address the initial points you made, if there's a private contractor and they can't meet their timeline, really that's their problem, and so I don't think, saying, sorry, Menona residents, you're going to have to put up with construction until 9 p.m. because they have a deadline. I think we can work around that. But I think it's really, and you pointed out, someone can't repair their screen door. That's I don't think construction noise. I think that, and maybe that's where the gray area lies. There's always gray areas and everything.
It says repair of any building.
Yeah.
And so if you have a large construction of a large apartment complex, and now they've got permission to go till 9 p.m., or even just the construction of a home next door to you, and they're building until 9 p.m., which really could happen. I think you're just, we're really compromising our peace and quality of life here if we allow that till 9 p.m. I think every other community around us has addressed it at 7 p.m. because of this, and we have to balance, that need for them to do this massive construction project with people being at home and spending time with their families. I think if your neighbor is going to call and report you because you're hammering at 7:30, that's really unfortunate, and hopefully the neighbors could discuss that. But I mean, I think we would be safer if we address this and cut it off at 7 p.m. personally.
Alder Groupie.
I was just going to say, I understand both perspectives here, and I'm wondering if there's a way to continue to tweak language to ensure that we're talking about, commercial construction specifically, instead of, to make it clearer somehow through adaptation of the language that it doesn't apply to your average shed construction or screen door repair. Because I think that's a valid point. I agree that more than likely a neighbor is not going to, report this, but I think if we want to be thorough, there would be time and space in this suggestion to clarify that.
Doug?
Yeah, I was going to say something along the same lines, that I think the issue seems to be maybe more with fine-tuning the language to what situations this would apply to, which might be, it's easy to say that, but it might be trickier, trying to actually adjust the language. I did have a question. Do we know, have we gotten complaints, and how many for work, in the past, between 7 and 9 p.m.?
I don't have any hard numbers. I mean, it comes sporadically depending on what type of project's going on. We do occasionally get them. That question was asked to me earlier, how do we deal with that type of enforcement? And it really depends on when that complaint is received by the city. If we get it after hours, sometimes it comes as a call into dispatch, and then the police department, as they have officers available, can go investigate. But more likely than not, it's an email to staff, and then staff the next morning sends out either the building inspector or code enforcement officer to go check in on it, and at least have a conversation with the contractor. We don't have the ability, after the fact, to record decibels and see how loud the noise was, but we can at least have a conversation with the contractors about, here's what the rules are, here's what we heard, just wanted to inform you of the complaint that we've received.
Yeah.
Alder Thomas?
What, prior to this, the adoption of the current ordinance, what was allowed before? I don't ever remember complaints about that. I remember more complaints about loud music. And I don't ever remember, now, we can ask the police department, but I don't ever remember when they were constructing down at the Triangle about building late night noise from construction. I don't ever remember that being a problem.
It's been 9, hasn't it?
Yeah, my understanding is this section was last adopted in 2017, or amended in 2017.
And Brian, there are times when you give permission to contractors to work on the weekend or whatever, because they do have deadlines, and if they can't meet it because of weather or whatever, and then they have to pay a fine.
Yeah,
They can- we
it's
try to
rare.
accommodate
It's
that.
rare when we do that, and there are times when I've denied a request to extend because of the impact of noise on adjacent properties. So it really is case specific.
All to go for
I
it.
think to your point, Kathy, you said you've never heard of that happening. So we're not talking necessarily about commercial construction, but residential or people working in their homes. So people obviously haven't been calling and complaining about this. So it seems like it's more reason to trim it down to 7 p.m. If people aren't calling their, reporting their neighbors for fixing their screen door.
I put nothing beyond a crabby neighbor complaining about the most minor infringements of our ordinances if they don't like their neighbor and if they're bad neighbors. I've heard really strange complaints that people make that you wouldn't think that good neighbors would do. So,
Anyone else?
I guess I would just say that I would prefer to give another chance to make this language acceptable to everybody before we vote on it tonight.
It's only first reading.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, there you have it.
Request granted.
Anything else? Okay. Moving on, final item, F, consideration of ordinance 4-22-752, amending chapter 263-6 of the Code of Ordinances to allow no mow may. This is put forth by Alders Wood and Groupie. Alder Wood, would you like to address this?
Sure. So this is just a very simple correction, simple change to the ordinances that would allow people, if they were so inclined, to not mow during the month of May and not be subject to violating the ordinance that currently says you can only grow your grasses up to 8 inches. It doesn't require anybody to do that, or and it doesn't address city department activities either. But yeah, and I think it's one piece of it. I'm sure Nancy can speak to this a lot better than I can, but it's one piece to improving the habitat for pollinators in the critical month of May, and so that people could do it, know they're not subject to violating the ordinance and not subject to, or if their neighbor says, why are you doing this, or complains to the city, that it would be, allowed. I think there's probably bigger education initiatives that could go along with this, but so yeah, this is one piece of it.
Any Alder Moore?
Yeah, so I was, as several people already know, I was kind of amused because there was an article recently in the New York Times, and so there was a lot of people that wrote in about no mow May, and in fact, we've been promoting it at the Sustainability Committee for 3 years. I've been doing no mow May for 3 years. I've never gotten a ticket from the inspector. I don't think
That's
another discussion. I don't think
Ticket from former Alder Kitzler, more like that's what you're looking at.
But what I would say that this is one step in the right direction. Although I don't think anybody was going to get in trouble from the city for this. But I would just say that the Sustainability Committee has this on their agenda for this month, and we fully expect to take an even deeper dive in terms of promoting this. We've done PSAs on WVMO before, and we've done posts on Facebook and Sustainable Menona and talked about it in other ways. But in fact, May is a critical month. for pollinators, and without those pollinators, the whole food chain breaks down. And as most people know from reading in the last few years, there's been a real problem with bees in particular, which again are part of that mix. And so we will be doing a big push. And what I would say is, as proof positive, as you all know, my summer schedule, I do a lot of business out of town. And I'm sure that my lawn has been over 8 inches multiple times during the summer, besides May, and I haven't gotten a ticket. And I would certainly support this resolution, and in addition to the work that sustainability and I'm sure Parks and Rec will do as well to help promote it, and everybody to help promote it in our newsletter and elsewhere. I would just encourage both Public Works and Park and Rec to jump on board and show leadership by doing the same in the parks and by doing the same in other public right-of-ways and areas that Public Works manages. And I'm sure that the Sustainability Committee would be more than happy to produce signage to educate people as to why that's happening in the month of May. Because, as I said, it's very important. And this is a good first step, and I thank Doug and Molly for bringing it up.
Okay. Doug?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, we are Parks Board next week, right, next Tuesday, we're going to be discussing whether to pursue something like this in the parks. I think there's a lot of challenges to doing it, but we'll have the discussion and see how applicable it would be in the parks. So.
Look, as a follow-up, sorry, you just reminded me of one thing. I want to point out that it's not only an issue for the pollinators; it's a huge issue as it relates to energy use. There's lawn mowing is the pits when it comes to carbon and carbon emissions. Yes, there are electric mowers, and we own electric mowers in the city. Jake has some, but in terms of carbon emissions and addressing climate change, lawn mowing is a real problem. And so I think we can expect that the Sustainability Committee will not only be promoting No Mow May, but we're going to be promoting some additional lawn mowing practices that will hopefully curb some of that, because some people I know in the summer, particularly early on in the summer, like my neighbor, like to mow their lawn like twice a week, so not even once a week, and it's a real problem in terms of the amount of carbon. So it would be a great step towards clean energy as a community. In addition to
Sorry.
No, go for it.
Just gratitude that we're moving on this after, I would say, like a couple of years of discussion about the prospect of making it, sort of an official practice in the city of Menona. And, I just want to amplify what others have said, which is I'm grateful for this initial step. I think it's very important to get moving on it now, despite the fact that we don't have a lot of time for, citywide publicizing of this. I think we all as individuals can take responsibility with that. And, as Nancy said, there are many conduits to making sure people are aware of this and can take advantage of it. But I think it's a really important first step in the process of then making it a bigger event, a bigger deal in future years. And I'm grateful that we're getting it in the books now.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on. Reports of committees, commissions, boards, etc. Alder Thomas.
The only thing, I don't have a committee report, but I want to say that there are 2 meetings on the 12th and 13th of April on Beltline improvements. And I think that it's really important for us to make the community aware of that, because I can tell you from personal experience that had it not been for the active involvement in the city of Menona, we would have the Beltline where Broadway is, because we had to protect the Blandings turtles. And Winona worked very diligently to get the Beltline moved where it is. And Madison raises up and does strange things when it comes to the Beltline, so we need to make sure that the public and the community are aware and involved.
Could we put
So we
something
can,
about
if we
that on
can
the
post it
homepage?
on the city, the location, I mean, one is on Park Street at the community building, and they're from like 5 to 6:30 at night.
Yeah, and one is further away, I can't, somewhere out on the far west side, right?
Memorial High School.
Memorial High School.
Is that regarding the flex lane?
No.
That's
So if
a
I
done
can
deal.
jump in, because I'm on the Beltline
Thank you.
Study Committee, so this is sort of, part of the Beltline corridor study that's been going on. It had been reactivated, say, in the last year or so, and so this is, we did basically looking at kind of what the process is and looking at a range of potential outcomes eventually. We did a little of that on the committee, and they had a survey that was fairly detailed, and I think they're going to use that to try to sort of winnow down to, instead of like 10 options, 8. So this is part of the public involvement meetings for that planning process. Yeah.
So I need Doug to connect the dots for me a little bit more. Process for what? Planning for what? When you say, is it just like the Beltline writ large?
Future of the
or is it-
Beltline. It's the future of the Beltline, right?
Yeah.
The whole Beltline?
Yes,
soup to
from
nuts?
it would go from the interstate, I think, to, is it Parmenter or Century?
US 14 in Middleton.
In Middleton, all the way around. So it's a long-term study. It's technically a planning and environmental linkages, or PEL corridor study, that's being actually conducted by Wisconsin DOT.
So is this to put a plan in place that would happen 30 years from now, or 5 years from now, or we don't have any?
Not 5, hopefully not 30. Definitely not 5. It's way far away from the design phase. It's still on the sort of concept development phase, I would say. And there would believe then after the Pell study is completed, there would then be a National Environmental Policy Act process following this. So, construction, aside from the fact of not having the funds, as far as I know at this point, there's just a whole lot of process, and it's, if the solution were easy and obvious, it wouldn't take forever to do it, but there's a lot of different opinions on it, and it's a very limited corridor that to try to fit all the traffic that has been generated by Madison's population growth, over the last 3 decades or 4 or whatever.
Brian, did you get the email from the DOT about that today? I know I did.
Yeah, I just got it late this afternoon.
Do you want to just forward that on to council?
Yeah, absolutely.
So everyone else, I know Doug got it, but.
Alderwood, do you know if the DOT is going to do any educational events on the flex lane? Because I know I've heard a lot, because the flex lane was supposed to be open, but they can't get the chips for the signs, so that's been delayed. But I know there's a lot of people.
There's still construction going on too, so I think I'd have to look, but I think it was like end of construction this year. Anyway.
Okay, I was just, okay.
Education and advance, I don't know, that's a good.
Because I am very concerned about that section of Menona, and our police department and our fire department trying to get through there, because there's a lot of people that haven't a clue how that works. I hosted a couple sessions with the DOT when I ran the chamber, so they explained how it would work, but I think the majority of the public don't know how that works.
And it's a little hard to, looking at it today as you drive the Beltline, it's not going to look like that. And so there's some areas where I think the lanes are still like wider than they're going to be, but there's a lot more weaving. And I'm not sure what the Todd Drive section's going to look like when it's done. I hadn't driven through there until last night, first time in a long time.
Yeah.
You're kind of like walled in.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good.
We'll have to get a little look out for that.
Check with those guys. I mean, it's not terribly complicated how to use it, but I don't know if they have any in Milwaukee. They certainly have it in Chicago.
Yeah,
they don't.
They don't, not in Milwaukee yet, so. But.
Yeah, Molly was asking if it's an express lane. It uses sensors to detect the volume of traffic, and if the volume is high enough, then they will open the one shoulder lane for a drive lane, and there will be lights that either have a red X or a green go. And if there's an accident, then the red X kicks on, and everybody's got to move over out of that lane. So
it could be real problematic for our public safety.
Yeah, really challenging for them to get through.
It's actually would be monitored from remotely. I think from their transportation center in Milwaukee. I think is the plan. So they would, be able to watch, and there's going to be a lot more cameras out to be able to observe what's happening, so that they would have the ability to shut the lane down. But basically, the idea is it would operate in the morning. Like I don't want to give the hours because I'm not sure, but basically morning drive time. Be shut in the middle of the day and then open in the evening or late afternoon drive time. One of the problems right now with the Beltline is the travel times at peak hours is very unpredictable. Like it might be a 15-minute trip, but sometimes all of a sudden it turns into like a 45-minute trip, and that happens often enough. It just makes it not a reliable route for people to take. So part of the hope of this is that it would make the traffic flow more reliable, so the traffic travel times more reliable, so that if you're going to use it, you have a much better sort of range of times that's going to take you to get to where you're going. So.
Thank you.
I'm done.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Are you done, Kathy? Okay. Jennifer?
Public Works is Wednesday. I'm not sure if you're going to talk about this, but we do have a number of openings on committees. And so I encourage the public to sign up to volunteer. It's about an hour or two a month that you're committing. Often committees don't meet, like in the summer. I know Public Works doesn't generally meet that first week in July because of the holiday. So you're not committed to 12 months of the year. Certainly, life happens and you can have missed meetings as well. And so it's not a big commitment, and it really gives back a lot to the community. We have openings on Public Works, we have openings on Library Board, license and...
It's all listed on the website.
Yes.
But yeah. We have 12 openings right now.
A number of openings. And I would tell people that you can apply online, but you also can call the city and get a paper application if that is more convenient for you.
Alderwood.
The only thing additional, I guess, to report is just look, NPO actually meets this Wednesday, and we are getting an update on the Flex Lane project, so I'll be able to ask then and find out sort of what the plans are.
Thank you.
Aldermore.
As previously reported, the Sustainability Committee is sponsoring the second annual big e-recycling event at Aliska Park on the 23rd from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. drive through with any electronics, appliances and such that you want to rid yourself of to be recycled, as well as styrofoam. Last year we had over 200 cars that drove through, and I think it was something like 17 tons of material. And the recycler tells us that they can expect double that the second year, so we're expecting a busy day. And I would encourage everybody to clean out their basements and recycle important things. Just do not bring batteries or light bulbs. And feel free to go to Sustainable Menona Facebook or the city's website for additional information on exactly what is getting recycled and is available to get recycled that day.
Alder Groupie.
Parks meets next Tuesday, Transit meets next Wednesday. Just an aside regarding the e-cycling event on the 23rd, this is not yet set in stone, but one of the things that I've discussed with Diane Mickelbank at the Senior Center is the possibility of, prior to the day, assisting those who are differently abled or who are seniors and don't have transportation or whatever reason, doing a pickup of large items or other items that people in the community would like to recycle but who cannot make the event for whatever reason. So still in the works, but hopefully if not this year we can do that next year, but we're hoping to get it in place prior to the 23rd so that we can assist other people in the community who may need that assistance. So and I think that that's it for me.
Alder, go for it.
Thank you. Yeah, I did first want to mention that I did invite these folks, Jake and his neighbors, to come today. I did ask that be put on the agenda, but it was missed, I guess. But yeah, I hope, because I went down to view the situation, and it's definitely a public safety situation. It's really dangerous. I think about children living in that apartment complex on Pirate Island, and the pier maintenance, and I'm very concerned about someone being seriously injured down there. So I hope we could get that maybe on the next agenda or an upcoming agenda soon. And I had asked the Director Stefani who was in charge of the pier maintenance, because the pier from their side looks like a roller coaster ride.
It's the property owner.
Yeah, I mean, a committee, as far as committees for Menona and kind of following up, and he wasn't sure, so I just wanted to get some clarity on.
I think there has been repairs being made. I saw them last week. I'm not sure how extensive they are, but
yeah,
he's definitely doing some.
Okay, it's rough on the backside, and the one concern is there's a ladder going down, and so I thought about my kids. My kids would see that ladder and think, what a fun adventure. And then, something could really go sideways there. So
I'm happy to talk to the three of you after as to why it has not been put on the agenda until now.
Okay, fantastic.
Do you have anything else, Christy? Or?
Yeah, my landmarks committee is April 13th at 4:30, and then I just wanted to mention that we have 2 openings on transit.
Yep. Okay, and I totally forgot to ask for updates on. Does anybody have any updates on diversity?
I'll just announce that we've got the Vibrant Hydrant program. We've got our call for artists out right now, and so that's a public art initiative through Madison Public Art Project, and it'll roll out September 11th. It's in collaboration with our fire department, and to honor those that were lost 21 years ago on September 11th. But it's underserved artists doing kind of mini murals on 15 of the fire hydrants, and that call is out right now. So I think it closes on June 13th. So you can find that at MadisonPublicArtProject.com.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have a
Alder Groupie.
I know I bring it up every time, being a dead horse here, but this will be my last week in the Black History for a New Day course. I know a lot of people took last week off because of spring break, but my group decided to have their second to last class. And I just can't express sufficiently the gratitude I have for the opportunity to have taken the course and the connections with my discussion group, but also just opportunities for continued learning and advocacy through, for example, being a Patreon of Lilita G's Defending Black Girlhood project, And there are opportunities to volunteer for that specific project at Bratfest. If you're interested, it can be Googled and found online. But I just, I'll be disappointed when it's over. It's been very challenging and very educational, and I think just really essential, and I can't recommend it highly enough.
I think the rest of us who are taking it would agree with you on that. Anyone else on diversity? Anyone on sustainability? Anything to share? Okay. I guess I would reiterate that we still have committee openings. I know I'd ask that people share the link on their Facebook pages or social media. It's on the website, the front page of the website, a lot of information about what committees are open. It does have an April 1st deadline. I can change that. I got a fair number last week because we'd like to make some of these appointments on the 19th. But yeah, please, feel free to share it on your Facebook pages or whatever, and continue. I've got a couple more applications today. So I think that's all I've got. Brian, did you have anything? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.